Welcome to Hold Up, a movie podcast. Tonight we're taking you back to the before times. Before we were men, when we were boys, and the hijinks we got up to. We threw the ball around, we, chased, ran away from dogs, and trains, and got, and sometimes bullets. I don't know, but, a lot of things happen when you're a young lad, and sometimes movies are the best way to explore that. What do you guys think, fellas? I am your host, Davin, and with me, as always, Chris, ChatGPT Murphy.
Oh, the Geppetto shots are in early. But you know what? It's a boyhood dream come alive to hang out with you gentlemen and talk about, the sweeter days of youth and how we get to potentially enjoy these movies when we were younger and how we enjoyed them today. So I'm looking forward to that.
And we have a guest with us, the birthday boy. So talking about Boyhood, we have a birthday boy here with us. Let's blow out some candles for Adam Woodward. How's it going?
I'm great, and we're going to talk about a movie tonight, which for me was very important as a kid. I'll tell you why later.
Is it Boy? Because you look very young.
No, it's not Boy, unfortunately.
No, it's not Boy. Okay.
Yeah. But some great choices. I saw two for the first time in the last week, so two of the three.
Really?
And, yeah. And guys, I really enjoy your opening sequence there. Huh?
Oh, thanks.
Oh, the video sequence.
Yeah, I used to be a movie theater manager back when there was film still, and I like the sound of the projector.
The reel.
Yeah.
That's all Murphy.
Popcorn and the pop sound. Yeah. That's my favorite intro. But it's true, the GOAT Adam is here.
Of all time.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it.
Always a fan there, that Sam. Well, this is season 2, episode 9 of our show, and we are talking about Boyhood. Sort of the same for me. Like I remember catching our first movie on TV when I was like a boy, like 5 or 6 or something. I remembered almost nothing about it, but I remembered seeing it. So I was basically seeing that one again for the first time. But one of these movies was very much beloved by me as a child, just like you, but it's a different one. So that'll be interesting to talk about.
I also I would have to admit that I have never seen Stand By Me. This is my first time watching it. I know of the film and I've seen a clip or two, but I never actually watched it from beginning to end. And it was a far different movie than I thought it was going to be. I'll let you guys know about that when we get into it. But also, I've seen The Sandlot. That is a childhood classic for me. Love that movie to tears. And, the third film, Boy, was pretty good. Pretty good.
Well, what are you doing? You're just spoiling the lead right off the start, are you?
Well,
That's all right. Let's get into it. Let's go over to Theater 1 before we spoil too much more. Over in Theater 1, we have Stand By Me, 1985, starring Will Wheaton, Jerry O'Connell, Corey Feldman, River Phoenix, Kiefer Sutherland's in there. There's lots going on. Directed by Rob Reiner. Well, let's talk about that here in a minute. But do we have a trailer or something there, Murphy?
We do, actually. Have you guys ever seen the trailer for this film?
No. Wait. Maybe. No, it wouldn't have been a theatrical trailer. I've seen like TV advertisement trailers to watch it on their channel, but that's different.
I probably did see it in theater, and I just can't recall what it is, though.
Oh, well, this is the original theatrical trailer for...
Is it to the song Stand By Me?
Actually, yeah.
That's gonna get us pulled down.
Well,
Watch us live, because we're not going to be there at the end.
Innocence, a time after which we are never the same.
You recognize the voice?
It happened in the summer of 1959.
Richard Dreyfuss.
A long time ago.
Oh man, where do you hear this? What is it, man? You guys want to go see a dead body?
I had no idea that was Jerry O'Connell this entire time.
Right?
Yeah.
He's like the short, squat one, but by the time they're adults, he's
We
taller
interrupt to
than
bring
all
you
the
an
rest of those
update on the
guys
search
by
for
a
the
lot.
missing 12-year-old Ray Brower.
Kid's gone. They're never gonna find him. Not where they're looking.
And the moon is the only light we'll see.
You think Mighty Mouse could beat up Superman?
I
Mighty
want
Mouse
to
is
talk
a
about that.
cartoon. Superman is a real guy. No way a cartoon could beat up a real guy.
I would argue no way a real guy can beat up a
We're gonna be
cartoon.
famous. We're gonna be on every radio and TV show in the country.
I still don't think we should go.
Man, they blow all the best scenes in the movie in this
I
trailer.
can only have one food
Pretty
for the
much.
rest of my
Oh,
life.
dude. Oh, dude.
That's easy.
The boy trailer.
Pass.
We have.
Cherry
Wait
flavored
till you
pass.
see that one.
No
They
question
all do
about
it? Oh my.
Oh yeah, they all do it.
When nobody knows
Well,
me.
there you have it.
We found him. We got dibs.
Better start running, Eyeball. They got dibs. There's 4 of us, Eyeball.
Hey, dibs meant something in the 80s, Kiefer
dead.
Sutherland.
For
Okay.
some, it's the last real taste of innocence.
I'm never gonna get out of this town, am I, Gory? You can do anything you want, man.
This is the
And
whole
the
movie.
first real taste of life.
This is really a good time. The most.
A blast.
But for everyone, it's the time that memories are made of.
So darling, stand by me. Oh, stand.
And flashes of Hot Shot 2 started boiling through my brain. Anyway,
Well,
I'm gonna let that play.
toss
before
to
we
you,
cut it.
Adam, since this one stands as your pick. But I want to say one thing. We've had Rob Reiner movies on the show a few times to this on, and I will say this is my favorite because Rob Reiner films are often don't land for me or even my co-host Murphy here.
Did you guys do Princess Bride? I'm sure you did.
No,
Not yet.
No, that's a good one too. But no, we did like Dave brought the American President on.
Oh, right.
I don't know. There
Remember that episode?
I forget the other one, but you know, Rob Reiner can be very boring.
Mhm.
But this one's not that. This is a good one.
So, did you notice the novella by Stephen King?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Body.
Yeah. So
his novellas are my favorite. Like all the things based off novellas. Shawshank's based off a novella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just take you back. I'd love to know. I think this was a summer blockbuster, or maybe not a blockbuster, but certainly a summer release. I would have been like 14 or 15, and like so this is very sentimental. But I remember we used to in the summertime we would walk to the movie theater. My friends, like there's 4 or 5 of us, and we would walk along railroad tracks to get there. You know, for us it was just sort of like we came together even more in the summertime where you always come together with friends, but it maybe it was even that 7 14, yeah, maybe 13 or 14. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but long and short, it was one of those movies that as a group of guys we connected over during a time where you're very influential, your friends are your everything, and we talked about it all the time. I mean, even the bar for Rama, everywhere. Like, just there's lots of great scenes in this movie that you go back to, even watching it today. I have just nothing but fond memories of everything about this movie. I think I probably saw it 3 or 4 times in the theater back then.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Well, movie tickets weren't what they are now.
No, it was cheap Tuesday. It was $2.50 Tuesdays back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna admit, when I to my knowledge, before watching this film, I had it in my head that one of the 4 main characters were going to die by the end of the film. I don't know, how I thought of this at some point, but it got into my head that one of those 4 were going to die by the end of the film, and I was waiting for that to happen, and it never happened, and I was like, oh, they actually did just find a body. Oh, okay, all right, cool. It's like it was an interesting little jaunt. But yeah, no, yeah, I was kind of surprised that I
But
don't know why.
like one thing for me in this movie, guys, what really stood out was and you have them at this age. Like you've got a very diverse group of friends, right? Who've matured differently, and
Oh, yeah.
and you know exactly what I'm talking about when you think about back to that age when you guys were that age, and you know, for me is like, you know, the conversations that you have with the different people in the group, but you can fall into each one of those conversations easily because they're all fun and they make sense to you, but you're not having that same conversation with everybody in the same group, which, you know,
Well, you know, that's an excellent setup there, Adam. You actually you said to me earlier your favorite scene that held up was the scene where they're all walking on the track. So
You think
let's
Mighty
check
Mouse
that
could
out
beat
real
up
quick.
Superman? What are you, cracked? Why not? I saw the other day he was carrying 5 elephants in one hand.
Boy, you don't know nothing.
5
Mighty
elephants.
Mouse is a cartoon. Superman is a real guy. No way a cartoon could beat up a real guy.
He pops a little kryptonite when he's popping them
Yeah,
vitamins.
maybe you're right. Would be a good fight, though.
It would be a good fight.
It'd be a good fight.
You could be a real writer someday, Gordy.
Fuck
Yeah.
writing. I don't want to be a writer. It's stupid. It's a stupid waste of time.
That's your dad talking.
Bullshit.
Bull true. I know how your dad feels
Bull
about you. He
true.
doesn't give a shit about you. Danny was the one he cared about, and don't try to tell me different.
That
You're just a
dichotomy.
kid, Gordy.
Oh,
Real
gee,
talks.
thanks, Dad.
Wish the hell I was your dad. You wouldn't be going around talking about taking these stupid shop courses if I was. It's like God gave you something, man. All those stories that you can make up. And he said, this is what we got for you, kid. Try not to lose it. But kids lose everything unless there's someone there to look out for them. And if your parents are too fucked up to do it, then maybe I should.
Come on, you guys, let's get moving.
Yeah, by the time we get there, the kid won't even be dead anymore.
Yeah, shut up, Wesley.
I would say like this
So-
is his I think his first role maybe, but this is the best acting from Will Wheaton. Like I love Will Wheaton and everything, but like he acts better in this movie than he does in all the Star Trek.
I think you're right, actually. I mean, because we're getting ready to do next gen reviews, and I watched the Encounter at Farpoint yesterday,
Oh boy,
and he was not good in that. Like,
no.
He's got more genuine like gravitas to what he is. Yes, that is the kid from Sliders.
Jerry O'Connell, Captain Ransom himself, or Commander Ransom.
Yeah, he's got more gravitas amongst the kids. I think the one that actually fell the most flat for me was Corey Feldman, though. His was just so hamish a bit, like in his performance, that it was kind of hard to like get behind some of his motivations. Maybe I don't know.
I think that's what he was doing though back then. When you think of like Goonies,
Gremlins too.
Goonies, like
Gremlins
he played the
one, I meant, yeah.
same character in every role. It seems like he was the same goofy guy.
He was just
Even,
himself for the most part. That's what I think. That's always kind of what's fallen flat for Corey Feldman to me. Is just it's for the most part Corey Feldman, like trying his best to act, but he always just ends up kind of being a bit hollow for me in most of the performances. That's just it for me, though. I mean, other than that, I was digging like the majority.
Lost
of the cast in
Boys.
this
That was the
movie.
other one where he's a little flat too. Like I don't.
Yeah.
It's the comic relief essentially. That's what they are.
Yeah. I just don't know if he's funny enough. I think that's what it is. It's like he tries a little too hard to be funny. Like in Goonies, he's good. I think Goonies is his best. But everything else is like just shades of that for the most part.
Yeah.
So, how would you say this movie starts, Adam?
If I remember correctly, it's Dog Days of Summer. You can hear the cicadas going. Again, it's just very, it hits.
Atmospheric.
Yeah. And they're in the treehouse. Their treehouse playing cards or whatever, smoking. And
They're always smoking. In
always
this
smoking.
whole movie.
This is the 50s, right? Everybody smokes, I guess. And what's his name there?
Jerry
O'Connell's
O'Connell's Vern.
Vern, thank you.
Vern.
Yeah.
Vern has heard that there's a dead body you know, and you remember, it's dog days of summer now. You're looking for stuff to do. Like you've done your first couple weeks, and you're now it's like, okay, we're bored, but so they're looking for something to do. Heard there's a dead body. Let's go check it out. And then they plot, you know, how to get away from the parents, and they all know how to do that very well. I get the impression right off the bat, you've got disengaged parents, you know,
It
and
was
you
that
find out.
time, you know.
Pardon?
That was the before times, man. Like even when we were kids, it's like you just left the house and you just came home when you felt like it, and
That's
nobody
true.
questioned
Latchkey
that.
style.
But we learn more here. I mean, so Will Wheaton's guy, and I can't remember his character name again. Jeez, this is like
Will Wheaton's character's LaChance. That's his
LaChance.
last name, right? His last
Yeah.
name.
So anyway, we find out that his elder brother, died in a car crash, and he was his dad's favorite. You know, he's a football star, and the family's going through some grief. We find out that River Phoenix, his parents are. It seems like a rundown, lower class family, lots of abuse with alcohol. Kids are just doing their own thing, get beat up a lot, blah blah blah. Corey Feldman's kid, her father is a World War II veteran who must be suffering from TD, and you hear of him actually burning the son's ear on the stove. So there's some, but he still loves his father. He's proud of his father, and we see that a little later in the film. And then Vern looks like the youngest of a bunch of big family, and so nobody's really paying attention to Vern. You know that's but so you don't get a lot of supervision going on of these guys, so they can do what they want. So off they go, and
like go looking for a dead body. Hey, Mom, Dad, we're gonna go look for a dead body in the woods.
Yeah, well, you're not going to tell them that, but and the fact is that somebody in the community is missing. You hear it on the radio, the 7th day for the Ray Brower search, and all that stuff, and but nobody knows where he is. But it didn't seem like as a big of a deal it would be today.
No one's searching even. Like the kids are the only people in the woods looking for him.
Yeah, 3 days and they didn't come across a search party at all. They're just like,
and somehow the kids could figure out exactly where this body is, but like cops couldn't, or like the parents.
Well, they figured it out because Vern. No, that's not that they couldn't just magically figure it out. It's that Vern overheard his older brother talking about it because he was under the shed digging for pennies that he had buried God knows how long ago, and has so many potholes. And his older brother's talking about how him and his buddy were in the woods and they found the body, and they freaked out because they were driving a stolen car. So they didn't want to tell anybody. And then Vern's like, "You guys want to see a dead body?"
So, and they set out. So, that's the setup for the movie. And then the adventure ensues, right? So, they basically head out the next morning. And I think the funniest scene, because they know they're going to be at least 2 nights out on the road, right? Basically. And the first stop they end up making is at the local
convenience store.
Before that.
Oh, the junkyard. With the dog. Yeah.
Chopper, sick balls.
Yeah.
But they haven't realized that they actually need to buy stuff to sort of eat along the way and drink. So, everybody empty your pockets, and they come up with like $2, and which is really
like $2.35,
whatever it was, something like that.
Yeah.
And then LaChance goes to the convenience store, and then it's amazing what you can get for $2.35. Like I was
six bottles of pop, bag of bread, like a pound of meat, and I think he probably got some other like Slim Jims or something like that. It's like, dude,
this is pretty damn good.
We're
I want to
coming
shop
after
in
you,
1950
grocery
prices.
Your time is running out.
So as he's walking back to the guys, because he got the short end of the stick and had to go. He's walking through the junkyard, and everybody's aware the urban legend about the dog Chopper, who is the junkyard dog, and that's
just like our next movie.
Yeah, that's good. So anyway, they have that scene, and everybody's laughing, and it's a great start to the film, and then they get on with their journey. So from there, you're walking down the railroad tracks on the way to find the body, but you get into all these conversations. And again, there's another great scene there where they're all singing the song, like their favorite songs and their TV themes, and just a real bonding.
Lollipop, lollipop, ooh, lolly, lollipop.
The Chordettes.
Ba-doom-doom-doom.
Actually, we should check what year that was, because that would tell us what year this is set in.
Yeah, it would.
Technically, it was set in, I believe, 1959.
Okay.
When I was going through my notes, I had saw that date. So yeah, it was set in around that time. There's actually like a whole theory on like what time and dates each like member, supposedly passed and stuff like that. Like there's some extended lore for this movie.
I bet.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I can totally relate to this movie too. Like I spent so much of my childhood walking down the train tracks through the woods.
Yeah, like the fact that the distance they were going was pretty amazing, right? Because you're walking a full day, whether it's railroad tracks or not, it's a distance, and they're going to do a full day and then another half day to get to the body, and then come back, which is pretty amazing. Yeah, when you think about back then, and again, back then, that's what we did. We walked or rode our bikes. Like there was no question. You just did it. That's you want to go somewhere. That's what you did.
I remember the first time I walked into the woods behind the apple orchard at the end of my road, where it's just woods after that. The first time I walked far enough through that woods that I came out on a road on the other side of it, and once I figured out what road that was, I was like, "Holy crap! I better start working my way home. I'm actually really far from home."
I remember one time it was like me and Rylan and the boys, and I convinced them all to go to this lake in Waverly, but we had no way there, and I thought it would be a quick walk up like the Beaverbank Road on Old Sackville. Either way, we walked from like Sackville to practically Waverly,
like Rocky Lake Drive or something.
Yeah, basically, like it was a good like 3.5 hour, 4 hour walk. At that one point, I think some people just like quit, just like screw this. We like turned around. Just like it was a journey. It was a journey, but it wasn't no like 2.5, camping journey like these kids went on.
And bridges, so you got like the scene you already showed us. So the development, you see the different maturity of the group and whatnot. But there's a scene where they sort of click on going on the tracks is a very long way. We can save hours if we cut through this area, So they know the geography enough to know that. However, it gets really good and because they get to a swamp and they're, it's not deep, and they do the stick check and then fall right in over their heads, and then you have the fighting that comes around it, the play fighting in the water and whatnot.
Leads to my favorite scene, I believe.
Yeah, this is
actually kind of, Davin, I didn't get that in time. I actually went with the other one you chose.
First one? All right, well, this one works too because I have a story to go with this one too. All right, fire it up, even though it was in the trailer already.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, yes. So yeah, there was the whole beach scene, but then they also come across this train.
This is the next day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so they got attacked by leeches. That's happened to me before. I changed my pick at the last second to where he pulls the leech off his balls or whatever and faints. I laughed out loud when that happened.
Actually, can you just pause this because I want to talk about one more thing before we get to this.
Yeah.
Is that night scene where they're sitting around the fire drying off, and this is where we explore how great LaChance is at writing, because he tells the story, and he gets into the
pie eating
contest, right? Which the climax is barfarama everywhere and everybody's puking. It's just fantastic.
It's all blueberry jelly. Doesn't matter who's puking. It's all just like blueberry jam jelly, pie filling.
Corey Feldman's pissed. He's like, and then what? They're like, what do you mean? That's the end. He's like, that can't be the end. He's like, what happened to Lardass? Like, he's like, I don't know. I guess he went home and had a couple of burgers. They're like, what? Like, that's not an.
And that's another great line where Jerry O'Connell, Vern, he takes a puff of a Winston. Oh, there's nothing like a smoke after a dinner,
And Vern like drops his burger in the fire, and he's like, "Ha!" just like saves it.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Chris. You can get in. So next morning,
Oh,
they're
yeah,
going to
no.
the tracks again.
Yeah, they're heading the tracks there. Anna Brown taught me to fear the
Yeah,
leeches and the Shubenacadie River.
Montana. Yep. Well, yep. Have I got? Yeah.
I
was
mean, I
afraid of leeches in
remember
the
swimming in
Scooby-Doo.
swimming in the lake behind my grandparents' house and fucking coming out with leeches all over my legs and stuff. And it's like, cool.
My cousin had a cottage on a lake that had a ton of leeches.
I was freaked out by them until I realized they're actually kind of helpful, and I was like, oh, you guys aren't so bad. I mean,
You guys used to be medicine.
Yeah, you guys used to just like take out all the toxins. So you're not so bad. You don't actually hurt. But yeah, next day, these guys decided to run a bridge. A long one.
Oh, shit. Move it, man. Go on, move it. Get up, Bert. Damn it. Get up.
This scene for me was great.
Tense.
I hated the way it looked.
Oh yeah, because it's all cut out. It's all they just.
Well,
took a
that's the
train
thing.
movie and put these guys
Not
over
all
top.
of it. This is cut out. This scene is pretty much. This is all one shot. One shot. One shot.
Yeah.
And you guys know
And
how
then
hard it is.
this is the head-on shot is a 600mm lens. Okay, I didn't get it in this clip, but when you get the shot of those two running away from the train's actually like, you know, miles behind them, but because of the 600mm lens putting a parallax on it, it makes it look like it's right behind them as they're running away from it. So that one shot is practical, but yeah, that like angled shot where it looks like they're much closer than they are, that's obviously a little superimposed.
So the reason I picked that scene originally is because that happened to me once.
And you know how hard it is to run down those railroad ties without falling between, right? Like it.
I wasn't even worried because I was just sure I could jump off at any point, but then like I realized I couldn't, and I was like, "Oh crap!" So I actually have to find a place I can get. So yeah, that I almost got crunched by a train for that stupid reason.
Never run on the train tracks, at least if there's a train nearby.
Like you think you'll hear them and see them coming along before you do. They do kind of sneak up on you, strangely.
And you know, another funny scene in that whole scene there is when Vern falls on the track and he loses his comb.
Oh,
yeah, it's like, no, I dropped the comb.
It was comb.
I liked how
like,
that was shot.
But he's got no hair.
Yeah.
It's like, you brought a comb. You didn't bring food, but you brought a comb.
I brought a comb.
Well, you gotta look good for the pictures. Yeah, no. Then basically what these guys like travel through the tracks for a few miles and
over the meadow and through the woods.
Yeah, it's their third night. But
it's only one night.
Yeah, second day.
Yeah,
okay, so
second day.
Maybe the train tracks was before, because when I was cutting these clips, the train track scene was before my scene, which is like around the time they wake up. But maybe it was around. Either way. This is my favorite scene because it was the one scene where Will Wheaton actually didn't speak. He actually shut up for a change.
He looks so young there, eh?
He's the smallest of them, so he probably is maybe a bit younger than the rest of them. Well, I guess Jerry O'Connell's the shortest. But you just like the pretty deer, Murphy?
I like the deer scene. I like the... Just...
Saw 3 deer running yesterday. Or not yesterday, a couple of days ago.
The peacefulness out of this, like the whole film.
The freight woke up the other guys, and it was on the tip of my tongue to tell them about the deer. But I didn't. That was the one thing I kept to myself. I've never spoken or written of it until just now.
That was more of the punchline to that scene. It's the fact that he didn't tell anybody about that until like he decided to write about it right then and there. Right? I don't know.
It's just
I like
deer.
that.
You see
It's not just a deer. It's a moment of serenity that he kept to himself. Like basically everything that, you know, he's retelling in this story, all these events was shared with the friends at some point in time or other. But that was the one scene where it wasn't, and it was just like this quiet, peaceful moment where he sort of like saw some like wild, beautiful nature at a really random time and kept it
Where
to
was
himself.
that deer's mother?
It probably was fine.
Bambi.
It was a mother.
No,
I don't think
that
it
was a
young.
baby deer.
Well, it's probably easier to push him on the scene and be like, eat the feed, don't move.
Yep. But yeah, you know, they get into some intense conversations, these young lads.
Yeah, that's a lot of dealing with the grief. Like, you know, Will Wheaton's character is dealing with the grief of his brother, and you know, ultimately, like, why did he have to die, and that, and then you got, uh, what was it? You know, Chris Chambers or Phoenix's character dealing with the whole like, my dad's a psycho, but he's a great hero.
No, that's
Yeah.
Corey Feldman's
That's
dad.
Corey Feldman.
Oh yeah, it's Teddy Duchamp. Yeah, Chambers' character was. I get. I don't see him as River Phoenix. It's weird. Like, it doesn't look like River Phoenix. He just looks like some kid.
Yeah, but again, like, you know, everybody hears about how great an actor he would have been, but he actually stole the show, in my opinion. In this movie, he was very good.
He was good in everything in those days. Mosquito Coast is another one I want to.
Oh, Mosquito Coast, great freaking film. I love that.
Well, let's get you back on for Mosquito Coast.
I have lots of talking about that movie.
All right.
Oh yeah.
There we go. Season 3. Wait for it.
So yeah, no.
That was actually one of my picks for Jungle, but I think we swapped that out.
Yeah, we switched that around. So yeah, basically these guys, you know, they come across the great journey of the woods, but while this is all happening, there's that B story with Kiefer Sutherland's Ace Morelli and the boys, the Cobras or whatever they are, with their
the Lost Boys.
Well, yeah, but they're called, their crew is the Cobras or whatever, because they were like using like hepatitis needles or razors to cut Cobra into their arms. Like, you're gonna mess up the swing, the swish. You're gonna mess it up. Quit flinching.
But like again, like Kiefer Sutherland's character is like the epitome of cool. You know, he's never cracks a smile. He's tough as nails.
Sort of, but like in all these movies, like even up to like Dazed and Confused and everything, it's always these 30-year-old looking dudes beating up these like 10-year-old looking kids, and it's like, what is going on here? I mean, we all got beat up by way older kids, but it's extreme in movies.
Oh, did he just freeze and completely disappear?
Yeah.
Oh well, you know.
Okay. Karate chop.
I'm sure he had something very valuable to say, very wise. Oh, is he back?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I glitched out there for a second. Did I? No.
Yeah.
Where did I stop?
You're just talking about how, you know, we all got beat up by older kids, but it was a little extreme in the movies.
Yeah, it's a little extreme in movies. Yeah, because Kiefer Sutherland has like a beard and he's just like beating up this little kid.
Yeah, these are not the same weight classes at all.
No. And they always act like they're such a tough guy too. Just like, look out, I'll get you next time. It's just like, well, of course you will. You're an adult. This is a kid. Yeah.
But this B story is interesting too, because you have the older guys, the older high school guys, who's supposed to be high school, talking about different things. Like they're talking about girls, and they're talking about drinking, and they're talking about
titties. They talk about titties a lot in this movie.
Yeah.
Stealing cars, smashing mailboxes, drinking and driving.
But the same thing's going on. They're bored as hell. It's summertime. There's nothing to do, and I like there's some reference to how they can nobody can hold a secret. You know, so it lasted like a day or something, and then they found out about it.
All of 2 days, they find out about it, and they start driving away. They're like, "Well, we got to go find that body. We're gonna go be popular. We're gonna be popular. We're gonna get in the papers."
Yeah, so they of course are driving and end up at the body about the same time our heroes do. So, you know, which is kind of interesting. So we have, and they've already had a conflict that like the two groups have already bumped into each other a couple of times. Remember, it was a very important scene because Kiefer's character Ace, they ran into LaChance and
take his hat.
They took his hat, which is his brother's hat. So it really means something to him, right?
Never gets it back.
Nope.
We
Don't
kinda
see that
skipped
hat
over
ever
the
again.
junkyard thing too. Like the dog chases them, and then they're all just mouthing off to the guy, and the guy's like, "I know every one of your names, every one of your fathers, except for, and I'm gonna call them all, except for you with the crazy guy, old man on the in the crazy house. I'm not gonna call him." He's like, "Yeah, he was.
I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, I'm gonna kill you."
That was probably the best scene in from Corey Feldman was that
Yeah.
like whole freak out about the dad and then proceeds to like just be sad after that. It was the best part of the whole film. Because I was just like, okay, I can believe this.
Biggest in 4 counties.
Yeah, also yeah, I don't know. There was also the
find the
whole
body.
like they find the body, which, somewhat gruesome. But then there's also
Been there a little
like
while.
yeah, it's been there for a while.
No
But then,
flies on it yet.
Kiefer Sutherland and them like show up and he like pulls a knife on the kids. And at my back of my head, I'm just like, okay, this is time you pull out the gun. Where's the gun? Pull out the gun. The whole
They pull
time
out
I'm
the
watching
gun.
the scene. And they eventually pull out the gun.
And the gun they stole again from Chris Chambers' father, right?
Yeah.
So,
But he was like, he won't even notice. He'll just think he was drunk somewhere with it and like left it there or some shit. Like,
Shooting pop
it was
cans.
pretty funny. There's a lot of really funny lines in this, actually. Yeah.
So, the confrontation happens between the two groups. And Will Wheaton is the one. LeChance pulls the gun on Ace.
Mm-hmm.
Showing some backbone.
Mm-hmm. But what was more interesting is that they completely backed down. They believe that he would actually use it. Which kind of talks to their character. The fact that they would,
Well, bullies are ultimately cowards.
Yeah. So away they go, and then they look. How'd the ending go? Basically, they just walk back
out the woods.
Yeah, they walked back and they like called it an anonymous call. It was like, you can find the body there, and they just pretended like it never happened, basically.
And then you get to see the writer.
Yeah, but it's a cool scene how they wind it down, because just like Summer, and this is what's so cool about this movie to me, it almost goes through the whole 2 months off in that 36-hour period. You've got the highlights of the beginning of the summer, and then you get the middle part where you're journeying somewhere, and then the end, which just ends. And that's what so they did a very good job of it. The narration, what everybody became, and Vern and
Vern drives a forklift.
Forklift.
Chris ended up dying in some sort of.
He became a lawyer.
He was a lawyer.
Yeah, he became
but
he got stabbed in the neck because he tried to stop a fight between two people. Because that was just the kind of guy Chris was.
Will Wheaton's character sort of dragged him through college. And like.
But it got him out of that, what he was destined for, right? Like there was another great scene. I know we got to get into the next film, but where Chris Chambers is talking about how he was blamed for stealing milk money at school.
Yeah.
This scene was very important. It was very important. He said, so he basically, nobody's going to question blaming me. Like, I'm the son of or the brother of Eyeball, the guy, my dad is a drunk. He could say anything I did, and everybody's going to believe it. But then he says, well, did anybody notice that the teacher was wearing a new dress the next day?
Yeah.
Yeah, he got shafted as a little kid. She's gonna just let it be blamed on him because he's the bad dog kid.
He's got the reputation.
Yeah. It's easier to get away with shisty shit like that back in the day.
He says he wishes he could just move somewhere where no one knew who he was.
Yeah. And what a horrible feeling for like a 12-year-old kid, whatever they were,
Brutal.
And
but that's such a common thing, not just then, but today even. When I was growing up, I knew kids who were dealing with like bullshit like that, who like were, quote unquote bully kids who had bad parents, and I didn't get along with them that much. I don't know, their circumstances, but in hindsight, I'm sure that they were dealing with shit of their own at the time, which made them want to lash out and pick on people like myself and people at the school and stuff like that. It's all too common, and it's sad, kind of.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, bad parents suck.
But the point being is that everybody thought he was going to be a shop kid and be down that path, same as his brother, same as his father. But he was able to get out of that mold and because he had the knowledge and he had the skill. He just had to believe in himself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what LaChance was able to do for him. I think, you know, they really helped each other along the way. So, and then I do really like the ending because it, you know, turns out, I mean, it's how we started, but oh my gosh, narrator again, guys.
Richard Dreyfuss.
Richard Dreyfuss is the dad, and he's the writer, which is LaChance, and he's got that big ass computer from the 80s, you know.
Oh yeah.
He finished.
He like turns it off as he walks into the room. I'm like, that's hilarious to do it.
He not only does he turn it, okay, but that's the thing. He turns it off. Did he save it? I don't think he saved his work.
No,
I don't think he saved his work. He just
at the time,
and then he just turned it off.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe I think that movie. For me, that movie, you know, is still important to me. It stands up over time. I can watch it over and over again, and enjoy it every time.
All right, well, that pretty much spoils your rating here, but let's get into a little. I'm a little peckish at the moment.
Alrighty, so for Stand By Me, 1985, after director Rob Reiner screened the movie for Stephen King, he noticed that King was visibly shaking and wasn't speaking. He left the room and upon his return, told Reiner that the movie was the best adaptation of his work he had ever seen. The lead actors weren't allowed to see Ray Brower, Kent W. Luttrell, until they unveil him on camera. This method was used to unsettle the four boys and gain the best reaction possible. In the film version, per the narrator, the adult Chris has recently died while the other three boys grew up and lived normal lives. In the original novella, The Body, all of the boys except Gordy were dead by the end of the story. Teddy was killed in a car crash, and Vern died in a house fire, so Chris was actually the third one to die. In an interview by Stephen King in the special feature section of the DVD, he reveals that the scene with the leeches, which is straight from his novella, actually did happen to him when he was a child.
It was a ridiculous amount of leeches they each had, though. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of leeches.
There was a lot of leeches.
The pond the boys fall into was a man-made pool because the crew wanted them to be safe and secure and did not want to put them in a real pond because they did not know what would be in it. However, Corey Feldman stated in an interview that the joke of the whole thing was the pool was built, buried, and filled with water in the beginning of June. And by the time they got to film the scene, it was the end of August, so it had been out in the woods for 3 months, and they did not know what was in it anyway. Michael Jackson was asked to do a cover of Benny King's song Stand By Me for the film. Rob Reiner in the end thought the original version was better suited for the film, so we could have had a Michael Jackson version of Stand By Me for this.
It needed to be period specific to me.
It did, yeah.
Columbia
Unless
Pictures
it was like Richard Dreyfuss is playing that version when he's typing on his 80s computer there at the end or something, then you could have Michael Jackson do it.
Columbia Pictures, concerned that the original title The Body was misleading, renamed the film Stand By Me. According to screenwriter Reynold Gideon, it sounded like either a sex film, a bodybuilding film, or another Stephen King horror film. Rob Reiner came up with Stand By Me after the Benny King song and ended up being the least unpopular option.
How was the body misleading? They find a body.
Like I said, it could sound like a sex film, a bodybuilding film.
I don't know. Misleading.
One of the several films named after its famous titular song played during the movie's end credits, in which the title has no direct correlation with the film's actual plot. This trend began in the mid-'80s with Stand By Me in 1986. Other titles include Stand and Deliver, 1988, Lean on Me, 1989, Pretty Woman, 1990, My Girl, 1991, Only the Lonely, 1991, and There Goes My Baby, 1994.
But there was a Pretty Woman in Pretty Woman.
I suppose so, yes. But were the lyrics of Pretty Woman, like, did they pertain to
Pretty woman
a
walking
sex
down the
worker?
street. Pretty woman.
Was that
Well,
Pretty Woman a sex worker though?
You'd have to ask Roy Orbison.
We'll dig them up and find out, I guess. Cinematography, Thomas Del
We'll
Ruth,
find him in the woods.
or in the bayou. Edited by Robert Lighton. Music by Jack Nietzsche. Release date August 8th, 1986. Runtime 89 minutes. A budget of $7.5 to $8 million roughly. A box office a total of $52.3 million. Well, I mean, at box office for the time it came out. So
it did $52 million back then. That's pretty damn good.
That's a smash hit.
Consider it was like a non-action movie. It was a character movie. Like that was pretty unheard of. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
With all the kids as the main actors, like it's just a bunch of kids.
And
yeah, exactly.
Again, your captive audience again was a bunch of kids like us. Like, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, that takes us to our next question here. Rewatchability. I think it's actually pretty high. This was a good movie. I'd watch it again.
I'm not being contentious here, but I don't think I would rewatch this film again. It the subject matter is like a bit too sad ultimately. And I was kind of bored watching it, I'm not gonna lie. Like it was just I wasn't totally engrossed by it. I get this is like an all-time classic and stuff like that. Maybe if I grew up with it, I might have different feelings about it. But ultimately, it's like not the greatest kid acting, but not the worst kid acting I've ever seen. It was just sort of left me with it was an okay film. So
where I think it has rewatchability, it's the same with the next movie. I didn't grow up in the 50s, but both of these movies, the first and second movies we're going to talk about, take place in the 50s. But like they're both really good at taking you back to the before times. And when I grew up in the 1980s and early 90s, had more in common with the 50s than it has in common with 2024. That was the before times. So it's like it was just walking through the woods and there were no cell phones, so you just left and then eventually came home. And
I did enjoy the nostalgia feeling of it. This film, I did enjoy that. It gave me that.
And where I think it has rewatchability is I think it does that really well, and so does the next movie. But like it does that really well. Like if I want to feel like I want to just immerse myself in the before times for an hour and a half, this is a good way to do it.
These both this film and the next film gave me strong urges to like go outside and enjoy summer.
There you go.
Like just get out and just do something.
The one thing about the movie though is that even though it was set in the 50s, and this movie more than the next movie, is that you still had problems. Like growing up, you hear about the good old days and blah blah blah, and everything was fine. But you got freaking people coming back from the war that had problems. Like this is only not even 15 years after World War II ended. Like there's a lot of stuff still dragging through, going on. There's
tumultuous time still.
Yeah, and I think it does a pretty good job of this isn't just a pretty picture. There's shit that's going on.
Yeah, like it's showing the kids of that generation. It's like these are a bunch of beat down, run down, unwatched, almost unloved kids because their parents are fresh off of World War II and like just don't have the headspace to even want to deal with that, like it's
and then they would grow up to be the sort of space head, neglectful, latchkey parents that we grew up with.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So it's like that's where it's like nostalgic for me, I guess. And does it hold up is the big question. Adam.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I never rewatched this, in the last couple of weeks for this. I just did it from my many times seeing it. So yes, it's rewatchable. Again, it's just one of those movies. Like there's a bunch of movies from that time that and mostly because I remember going to see them with friends and talking about them as we walked home, because again, there's nobody picking us up. Walk home from the movie theater, talk about the movie the whole way, and how we all liked it. It became part of our dialogue and everything so yeah, I for me, this one particularly is I was very happy to see it on the list because it's a special one for me.
Sweet, I like that.
It holds up for me too. It's the best Rob Reiner movie that I've seen, I think.
I'm gonna say it holds up. Just as a capsule of time sort of piece, it does hold up. I just I'm not gonna rewatch it anytime soon. I think, if at all. But it does hold up.
We did skip an important question, so I'm gonna rewind for a sec. Which performance would you guys hold up?
I'll go for River Phoenix for me. More because I really, every time you run across an actor or somebody who could have done so much more, and
it's sad. It's a sad tale.
Yeah, and I think that he did great in this movie. Will Wheaton, because we got to see him in Star Trek, and it was a different role for him, completely different role. This character. So it was the other two. I can honestly, Jerry O'Connell and the other guy. Oh my God. Anyway, they were there. They were good, but it wasn't great. I remember finding, by the way, Chris, when I found out it was Jerry O'Connell too, I was like, what?
Yeah,
I know, right?
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, that's Jerry O'Connell, and you know what? I'm gonna give it to
He marries
Jerry
Rebecca
O'Connell.
Romaine.
Vern's the one. Yeah, he's the one that is the commander of the Cerritos.
Exactly.
Amazing. So another Star Trek connection there. I'm giving it to Jerry O'Connell for the hold up performance, because Vern, he played that kid. He played that kid very, very well.
Yeah, he did. He did.
I'm with you on that, actually.
We all knew that kid at some point in our life.
And he had to take a lot of grief
kid
for that role, when he was older.
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah. You go back and see some of the interviews. You were actually Vern. Yep, that was me, Fat Kid Vern.
Fat Kid Vern.
Yeah, it was his first role, actually. So,
yeah.
Sincerely.
I'll give it to Will Wheaton. I mean, I thought he was really good in this. I was almost shocked, because I've seen him so much in Star Trek as Wesley, and I don't know, it's a bit hammy a lot of times, his performance as Wesley, I find, but he's so good in this. I thought he feels like a real kid a little bit more. River Phoenix just has a bit too much well-written dialogue, where it just doesn't come across as a kid saying it some of the times. But I never found that to be the case. Wesley's character, Will Wheaton's character, just seemed like a really creative kid that could come up with stories, and I like that. I like that element of it too. Yeah, I'll give it to him. But yeah, so that's Stand By Me. Let's rush over to Theater 2, fellas. Grab your popcorn, your beverage. Theater 2, we have my pick, The Sandlot from 1993, starring Tom Geary, Mike Vitar, Patrick Renna, Chauncey Leopardi, Dennis Leary, Karen Aline, and James Earl Jones. Yeah, Karen Allen. Murphy spelled it wrong, so it messed me up.
Did not. That's exactly how her name's spelled.
With 2 E's? No, Murphy.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Karen Allen is not spelled Karen Aline. I can tell you that.
From Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, exactly. It's not spelled Karen Aline. It's Karen Allen. And James Earl Jones, directed by David Mickey Evans. So, why did I pick this movie? I mean, I'll admit I didn't really have many questions in my mind whether it held up. But, well, you know what? That's not true, because I hadn't seen it in quite a long time. Probably 20 years. I remembered it so fondly, I was pretty confident. But I did want to watch it again, because it had been a long time. And, I was really a big fan of baseball movies when I was a kid. I've kind of fell out of love with baseball a bit. I mean, it's still fun to play and stuff, but it's like kind of like watching paint dry. Like to watch like professional baseball, but it's a big part of childhood. You play a lot of baseball. I played baseball every summer, so I could definitely relate to this movie back then. I would have been 9 years old when this came out, so I was right in the wheelhouse for their target audience. And yeah, opening thoughts on the Sandlot.
I'm just looking at all the baseball movies of the 90s. Like, you had League of Their
There were
Own,
so many. League of Their Own.
Sandlot,
There was
Rookie of the Year,
Mm-hmm.
the
I love
Big
that movie
League,
too.
Cobb,
Yep.
Major
Love
League.
of the Game, Angels in the Outfield, Major
Yeah.
League 2.
There were so many.
Yeah.
And I liked most of them.
Baseball Fever
this
was
one's my
happening in the
favorite.
early 90s.
This one's definitely my favorite. It's not really a baseball movie. It's about a professional baseball player's childhood. And there's certainly a big baseball element, but it's not really about that.
What? Are you sure about that?
He was the announcer.
Are you sure about that?
What?
I thought he was
Are
the
you
announcer.
sure about that?
He was the announcer, but his buddy was
Yes.
Yeah,
Benjamin
Benny.
Franklin Rodriguez. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you saying this movie wasn't about baseball?
I think it was a backdrop of
Look,
baseball.
it's the backdrop of everything. Absolutely. Like, it's the connection they end up making with James Earl Jones and everything. Like, and they're like idolizing Babe Ruth and all these things. But it, like, most of the
They're
scenes
playing
of this
baseball.
movie,
Is
they play
that
baseball
what you mean by
a
all
fair
these
bit.
things?
They play baseball a fair bit, but well, you know what? Let's get into it. It's a baseball movie, sure, but it's less that than like a coming of age childhood movie like Stand by Me.
All right. Well,
Like,
you know what?
more in common. It has more in common with Stand by Me than it does Major League, or even Rookie of the Year, which are just straight up baseball movies. They take place in a baseball locker room the entire time, and like those. Are
So you needed a locker room for this to be okay. You know
No.
what? Okay.
Are you gonna fight me on the Sandlot, Murphy?
No,
All
I'm
right,
just
let's
I'm just
go.
questioning your like definition of what a baseball movie, when the entire movie is from beginning to end arguably a baseball movie. Like, it's a kid's baseball movie, yes.
No,
you know,
to
it's
me,
about kids and
this movie is
friendship
about
and
it's
summer.
a friendship movie.
But it's also, they're playing baseball. It's art, like, it is
It's
designated as a baseball movie.
It's the kid who moves into a new town and is like bad at making friends, and it's just like kind of gifted a group of friends kind of movie.
Through the
see where
power
that
of
goes.
baseball.
No, not the power of baseball, the power of friendship. He was terrible at baseball.
That's right. Until
They
he
weren't
learned
keeping
to,
him
like...
around for his baseball skills, Murphy.
Well, no, they were making fun of him up until the moment he proved he could play baseball, and they're like, okay, he's not so bad.
Well, he caught one ball. They freaked out about it though, and he hit
And
it
he
over the
threw it
fence once,
back.
too.
Yeah.
It's true.
Okay. Before we get too into the weeds,
No,
of
he didn't
this-
hit it over the fence. But anyway,
No.
no.
Yeah. Anyway,
It was great.
Have you guys seen the
actor
trailer for
Chauncey
this?
Leopardi, who was in all kinds of things when we were a kid.
Have you guys seen the trailer for this one?
Oh, I'm certain I have.
I hadn't seen the movie until last week, so you can show me the trailer.
I'll be interested in your thoughts. I feel like I don't want
just
to hear
before I
Murphy's
show the
thoughts about this
trailer,
movie.
how aware of this film were you?
I wasn't aware at all. I mean, I knew the name of it.
Really?
So I was 22 years old when this movie came out. So this was not on my top, my watch list back then. It really wasn't. So this is 93, right?
Yeah.
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I watched it, and I enjoyed it to a certain point, and I will talk about that. And then I enjoyed the end.
Yeah.
But there was one scene that just went on freaking too long.
Yeah. Why?
Like, I actually kept pressing 30 seconds speed up because it was getting boring.
All right, so neither of you guys, well, you might have seen this trailer, Davin. You possibly haven't, Adam. So let's check this one out.
I know you're smart, and I'm proud of you. I want you to make some friends this summer.
Meet Scotty Smalls.
Scotty Smalls.
The kid is a L7 winning. My life's over.
Man, this is baseball. You gotta stop thinking.
Good kid acting in this movie, too.
There's good, solid kid acting in this film.
Just stand there and stick your glove out in the air. I'll take care of it.
And he does, too. Friggin' bats it right into his glove. Now, that is some shit there.
With the coolest guys in the neighborhood.
See, I will admit there's a lot of baseball, but the baseball stuff in this movie is really cool. It's not just like baseball games being turned out on screen like in so many baseball movies. It's just fun character moments that happen to be around baseball.
Jerk, idiot, moron.
Oh, I love that scene,
was
too.
in the toilet, and you like it. You played
You
ball
played
like
ball
a
like a girl.
Oh, man.
I got it!
Oh, no.
But something else has got their ball.
That wasn't my ball.
Dad's father gave it to him. Babe Ruth signed that ball.
We gotta get that ball back.
Got any bright ideas?
It's funny they show the ball that wasn't signed by Babe Ruth.
Come on, help me, it's heavy.
Yeah.
Now. Fire, fire. We gotta block. Mommy, look, a doggy. Ooh, a big doggy.
20th Century
Ooh,
Fox
a big
presents
Hey guys, it's the Sandlot baby.
No, it was Patrick Renna who was in everything. Like Son-in-Law and everything. Like the chubby kid, he was in everything.
A Lifetime of Adventure.
Come on, Squid, you can
Another movie where there's a bunch of vomiting.
Yeah. That was a memorable scene for me as a kid, though, where they'd take the chew and go on the orbiter. Or the tilt-a-whirl, it might have
A
been.
little piece of paradise, a half a block wide. And
Look
a
at that
whole
graphic for
season
this
long.
film. I've never seen that
Daddy,
one before, this
Have you made any
commercial.
friends yet?
Oh,
Nope.
I'm sorry, Mom.
Cause like, yeah,
So-
the graphic they use for this is like way different than like
The whole season.
that's
long.
like way different than what this one is. Cause this is the one that everyone is familiar with, the red like kid like lettering.
So this movie I relate to a little more. Like, I should have related more to Stand By Me because it's just walking the tracks in the woods and stuff. But you know what? We were constantly playing baseball and hockey and stuff too, and there was less like depressing post World War II shit in my childhood. So like this one feels more like my childhood, where it was a little more fun, a little more like, I mean, crazy shit, like just gangs of kids threatening to beat the shit out of each other for no reason. There was all kinds of that and stuff, but that was part of childhood, and it was fun. Like, this movie is very fun. I love the pool stuff is all really good. All the like lore about this dog and this old man, because we had all kinds of things like that in my small town too. There was always these old men who didn't talk to anybody, or at least didn't talk to any of the kids. And there's probably good reasons for that now that I'm an adult, when I think back on it. But like, but like stories and myths about these
But
people would always
they did
develop.
it very well in movies, like with Home Alone too, with that neighbor,
Yeah.
you saw, that face.
Yeah. There was so much of that. Like, I didn't talk to the person who lived across. I lived in the same house growing up for my entire childhood. The old man across the street, I never said a word to him. He never said a word to me and I saw him outside every day. Like, that's how weird things were like in back in the before times. So yeah, I like a lot of things about this movie. Murphy, what's your problem?
Oh, my problem. I ain't got no problems.
Yeah, you like this movie?
I mean, I like this. I like portions of this film. I'm not the biggest fan of like the dog fear that they put into the film. Like,
But that
trying
was
to-
real too. Oh, I got to talk about that. Sorry, I'm going to cut you off for a second. So my grandmother
do.
lived. I know, but you reminded me of something. My grandmother lived next door to me growing up, just down the hill, and my uncle had two big dogs, and they hated kids because kids used to tease them and throw sticks at them, and stupid shit that kids would do back in those days before kids became better people that they are now. We were savages back in those days. It's true. Like, I think we're all pretty good humans now as adults, but I bet you each one of us was a little shit when we were kids, because we all were back in those days. We didn't know any better. It was a different time. But I wouldn't walk down there to visit my grandmother because I was too afraid to walk past those dogs. So, like, dog fear was real, and that would exist on multiple streets in the town, right? Like, there would be like a scary dog on all these streets, and there'd be myths around that as well. Like, this was all a lot to relate to for me, actually.
It's fair. I personally wasn't a fan of all the dog fear. Because I never feared dogs. I never had a fear of dogs. There isn't a single dog I've ever been afraid of.
They hate me. I still don't.
With big breeds.
Don't like dogs. They hate me.
It's because you're afraid of them. That's why.
Yeah,
they can smell it.
I also smell like 4 cats and 2 kids.
Hey man, I grew up with all sorts of pets. But aside that, I mean, I remember watching this film as a kid and loving it, very much from beginning to end, and all the jokes and stuff like that, and just like the energy and the vibes that it brings. But on this rewatch, I liked probably the first third of it into almost a half. It was really just like the one scene that just drove me nuts. And I think Adam is probably like, I feel like Adam and I are the same way. Like, it's just the big chase scene that happens with the dog. Like, for me, I was just like,
I almost picked that as my favorite scene. I love that.
Jeez, I thought that was the worst scene in the whole movie. Was the pointless, endless chase scene just to end up back where you started. Like, it was just kind of took me out of
that was relating to who that
out.
Major League Baseball player became. Like, he was showing that he has like these endless like rubber legs. You know.
I mean, yeah, like he can totally run. Like that's an impressive feat. But I just feel like there's no way that dog would be so, I'm gonna get this kid and ignore a giant cake and all the food on the table and all these other people. And
because that kid is running from him. Yes, there are dogs who are trained, and dogs, especially in small towns, if you run from it, they will chase you endlessly. That is a real thing. That's how dogs get loose. They end up back in those days. They chase somebody and then they're like gone. You got to go find them.
I mean, they'll chase you for a bit, if anything, but like they won't chase you around town through almost 10 different sets and a festival, and nobody's gonna stop the dog. Like, it was the one scene.
No one tried to stop the dog in that scene. Yeah, but they were running fast. Like, that kid was running fast, and so was the dog. And it's a big dog. I don't think anyone was gonna really step in front of it.
He wasn't that big. He was like a bull mastiff. Like, that was
bull mastiffs are like the biggest dogs that exist.
I mean,
yes.
Was it a bull mastiff? I might be thinking of something different.
It looked like a mastiff. It was a big dog. Was that a big dog, Adam?
It was a big dog.
It was a big dog.
If you take the 2 dogs in these 2 movies we've talked about so far, I think Chopper is the better dog.
What? No way. No way.
Yeah, because in both movies they've got a myth about a dog. There's no question. Yeah. You know, personally, I as a dog lover myself, I don't like how they're both portrayed to live in a shitty little backyard, essentially, and you see all these bones lying around and whatnot. But like, for me, this movie, I listen. Okay, I hadn't seen it. Turned it on. I was into it. I was totally into it. They were telling a good story. It was like, okay, we got a new kid in town. He's got a stepdad who's trying to, break through with.
Dennis Leary.
Yeah, that's a dad. Oh my god! And
English.
I was hoping he wouldn't play himself or his usual comic routines, because actually he played a good role, because he's trying to. I think he was trying to.
Yeah, he was trying.
Karen Allen. Everybody's got a sweet spot for her. She was, Indiana Jones's girl. But so everything was great. Like, I was totally enjoying this. I was enjoying the confidence this kid Smalls is getting. We're getting, you can see that, he's got, first of all, he's got to make friends, and then he gets the friends, and then he's getting confidence with baseball, and and everything's just a step. Learn how to throw a ball, and then he's got that down, and everything just gets better. So I'm enjoying all of this, and then you get to the scene where they lost their ball. And what does he do?
Steals the Babe Ruth ball. But that's the thing, he knows nothing about baseball.
No, but even still, why is he taking the ball that's on a mantle amongst other trophies? Why not just dig the ball that you were pitching with your father out of whatever closet he probably put it in?
Well, that he didn't have one. The only ball he knew of was that ball in that case. Other than the ones at the store for 98 cents, which they.
But that didn't even really bother me that much. Okay, so again, he wants to impress the friends, but he doesn't even know about Babe Ruth at the time, so this is all new.
They don't call him that. They keep calling him the Great Bambino and all this stuff.
Yeah,
so he doesn't connect it.
No, he's not connecting it, which is fine. I believe that was all believable. Yeah, exactly. I can totally get into that. It was for me. It was the scene where they lost the ball, the Babe Ruth ball, and now they're all that. The chase and then trying to get the ball back. Oh my goodness, that was too long, guys.
Oh, I mean, that's I don't know. I like that stuff because it leads to my favorite scene, which is where they finally just go up and knock on the door.
Yeah. And that was that. Then it got good again.
Yeah,
for me.
Yeah, because James Earl Jones.
There is a 10-minute span in the middle that does feel like a musical interlude, but that's that was a thing of the times. Like the early 90s, late 80s, they did those montages. Every movie had one.
Yeah.
And that was theirs. But at least that one it had upbeat music, and I liked the chase because I just liked the route he took. He's like, meet me back at the Sandlot, but he runs by the Sandlot, and then he does this whole big loop and then comes back around to the Sandlot to give them time to get there. I just if you pay attention to the whole route Benny's taking, it's actually a pretty interesting chase scene. So that's why I really like
it's interesting and lengthy, and it's so lengthy that it becomes unbelievable. I feel like there could have been a few beats in that could have been taken out, and maybe it would have been a little more okay. But it became too much at one point.
But there's other great scenes in this movie, like the whole pool scene, which I thought.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
And he's going on about how he's been planning this for years. Every summer, the kid is going nuts over this Wendy Peppercorn, who's the lifeguard.
And by the way, what a great name!
So great. He's like Wendy Peppercorn, and he she just walks by in the street, and they just take off their glasses and stare at her as she walks by, and she just kind of nods at them and stuff. But it's so funny. So he has a plan to jump in the deep end because he can't swim, so she'll have to save him and give him mouth to mouth. But it works too well because he does sort of almost drown. But eventually he comes to and kind of starts to make out with her while she's trying to give him mouth.
Kind of starts to make out. Sorry, that's
he French kisses her pretty good.
Okay, he totally grabs the back of her head and fucking plants it on her, but unconsentingly.
Unconsentingly. Oh, it's not nice. It's just it was a different time, and he was just a young lad. He's the tiniest kid ever. She even grabs him by the ear after and drags him out of the pool, and they're all banned. Not just him. They even ban all the friends, or maybe they just consider themselves banned because they can't go with their friend anymore. Yeah. But they're like, that's the day we got banned from the pool.
For life.
For life. Even just for life. It's just they're never allowed to come back.
But Wendy Peppercorn would always smile.
I've been planning it for years, and Buddy runs off. He's like, hey guys, he planned that. It's just
and what I liked about this movie up until the chase scene was it wasn't always about baseball. They have other things.
That's what I'm saying. It's not always a baseball movie.
Yeah.
It's not always a baseball movie, but you weren't saying that. You were saying it's not quite a baseball movie. You're trying to emphasize what it was.
It's not the most important part.
Okay, that's fair.
No, I mean the other scene was kind of gross, but still funny.
Yeah.
Was
it's funny, and it's okay because in the end he marries Wendy Peppercorn.
No, I'm not even saying that scene. I'm talking about the fair.
Yeah. Oh,
No, the
that's
chew.
great stuff too.
And
I can relate to
you
that,
get
too.
that. Okay, if you're looking across the two movies again, you're talking about the cigarette being, there's nothing like a Winston after supper, and then and now you're talking about there's nothing like
Chew.
what true.
Big League. No, it was like, what was it?
It was chaw. It was tobacco chaw, and it was
Yeah,
just
but
like this is
but
what the
again,
pros
is
do.
like is that tobacco culture that was so relevant
yeah.
back in the probably through the 80s, honestly.
Yeah,
but they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't like stick it under the lip or anything. They took these big globs of it and they were chewing it and swallowing all the juice and everything. Like they weren't spitting anything out. So, and then they get on, and this is funny because the only time I puked at the local fair was off the Tilt-A-Whirl, which was the exact same ride. See, I would kind of relate a lot to this movie, I guess.
And chewing tobacco is just disgusting. Okay, like
awful stuff.
The Tilt-A-Whirl was the one that was like vertical and had like the spinny cages that you were like basically sit up in.
No, the Tilt-A-Whirl was the one that they looked like little.
Like, it was like a disc one, and you were
just like it was like a kind of like a half egg shape, and you could kind of control how much it spun. Like it always.
Yeah, but it was like little cages, and it was on like an elongated sort of chain sort of thing, and it would like.
No, that's a different one.
What are you? Okay.
Tilt-A-Whirl's different.
But
there's
I
the
don't know what you
Scrambler, the
guys
Tilt-A-Whirl, and the Orbiter, and I think you're thinking.
Like chewing tobacco.
I see. The one with the little chairs, and you'd spin them around, and it would go in a circle. Okay.
If you want to on the Tilt-A-Whirl, yeah, go ahead.
Right, chewing tobacco was not a big thing here, like where I live, and it wasn't for me until I was like, again, I was a theater manager, and we were down in Kansas City for 3 months training, and this is just disgusting, guys. So you know how people throw all their popcorn and shit on the ground, and so you go clean the movie up. But at the movie theater there, people would ask for a cup so they could do their
spit their chew. Mm-hmm.
And you'd pick up these warm glasses of chewing spit. It was just disgusting. I think
I had a teacher in high school who just sat there spitting his chew all day while he was teaching the class. He just kept it in his desk drawer. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's a horrible.
Okay. The ones I was thinking of was the zipper, not the Tilt-A-Whirl.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're going to show us here. If you're going to show us it, it's I like the zipper.
Yeah, the zipper's crazy one too. Zipper's still going strong to this day. So is the Tilt-A-Whirl. But the thing about Tilt-A-Whirl is you could spin it as fast as you wanted. This is the thing, so you could just keep making it worse for yourself. And as a kid, you would do that kind of stupid stuff. So that's why I puked off the Tilt-A-Whirl.
Anyway, great scene.
Okay, so just on this topic, there was that ride that's like it's like a scissor ride, and it would do this thing, and there'd be like two elongated boats. Do you know which one I'm talking about? I don't know the name of this one, right? But I remember
back in the day.
I remember it being like I was 14 or something, or 15. I remember riding on it then. This is a personal anecdote that I have. So at the time, it was me and Craig Cannon. We go to the carnival at Downsview Park in Lower Sackville when it shows up, and it would like be in the parking lot there. We go to that one. But before we go there, we swing by the Irving gas station, and we were hungry, and I pick up like a ham and cheese sandwich from the Irving gas station, and I eat that and whatever, and we eat the gas station food, and then we go down to the carnival, and Craig and I are the only ones in this little scissor ride, and we sit in the same one, sit next to each other, front row, and we just start going and rocking around. Before I knew it, on one good like backward pull, all the vomit comes out of me and just hits the front window, and Craig's sitting next to me, and he's just like, no, just no. So I'm just like power vomiting as the gravity's pulling it out of me, and we go back up and do another one, and it just like, it was easily one of the roughest rides ever. I never had a ham and cheese sandwich after that experience, and I apologized to the carny guy, and he's like, it's okay, and he gets the hose and just rinses it down.
Gross.
Yeah.
Yep. Those were the days, fellas. But anyway, we got any favorite scenes from you guys from this movie?
Well, yeah, actually, after the carny ride, the guys are, at the Sandlot, and then there's that crew of like rich ball player kids that show up, and there's the whole
As a
weenie
kid, this
scene.
was my favorite scene.
Yeah, it's not that scene where they have the little face off. It's the scene just after.
Oh, the actual game.
Yeah, it's where
No, 'cause
Ham
he
just
his
rips
trash
him.
talk.
I gotta get home for lunch.
His trash talk is so good.
That's
one.
You know,
That's
if my dog was as ugly as you, I'd shave his butt and tell him to walk backwards. Here it comes.
Here it comes.
Strike three, you're up.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh,
is that your sister out there in left field, naked?
Catchers were always like that,
She's
though.
naked. Shut up,
She's
Porter.
naked.
Hey, I'm just trying to have a little friendly conversation.
Whoa, we're just having fun here.
You think she'd go out with me?
You can go out.
Come on, show me your stuff. See what you got.
And classic Ham Porter.
Yeah. Thanks to
Bam.
Yeah, man. Ham's my favorite in this for sure.
Yeah, that scene had me cracking up when I was watching this. Just the,
You know what that
ribbing.
reminded me of? That scene reminded me of Bull Durham. Kevin Costner as the catcher.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Durham. Interesting.
Yeah. It's, catchers are like that, man. They'll trash talk you. So, part of the job. Bada. Well, yeah. That was a great scene, and the scene before that with all the trash talk between the two gangs. That's pretty great. There's like the actual team that have actual jerseys and that kind of stuff. And there's the Sandlot crew, and they probably want Benny on their team, but Benny's like, "Nah, I'm gonna play with my friends." And then they crushed them. They crushed them in that game.
Yep.
That was pretty cool. Which you don't normally expect in that movie. That throws you for a loop. If you did you expect them to crush them in that game, Adam? It's the first time you right? Because most times in a movie it wouldn't go that way.
No.
But
it'd be
they
like
would lose, have to bring it back, come back in the
Yeah.
third game, and then they get the big win. Yeah, just like
but they just
one game.
stomp them with trash talk and a couple of good hits. It's awesome. But, yeah. It's one. Oh, it's two.
But it comes back to the whole the kids that don't have the opportunity, they can still play well, but they just don't get the chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like that scene at the carnival again was like Benny was the guy, he paid for everything that night.
He seemed to have a lot of money. Like he buys them sneakers too at one point, or he gives Smalls sneakers.
No, he gives Smalls a baseball
A
glove.
glove,
Yeah.
glove, right? But he seems to be more well off than the rest of them by far.
Seems like a kid from a decent family. I mean, gets to play baseball all day to a degree where he becomes a major league player. It's pretty cool.
True. So then they do lose the ball, and they need to go get this Babe Ruth ball back because they're all freaking out because they would all kill to have one. And that's when they decide they're gonna pickle the beast. That's when the big chase scene happens, of course.
Well, there's sort of like two scenes between them and the beast. It's the first time they lose a ball. They try to get it back through a bunch of different means. And I remember that one kid who's covered in dust. He's like, "We're doing this all wrong. We're going about it the wrong way," And then they come up with a few extra methods that don't entirely work. And then you get the whole big chase scene where the fence gets knocked down and then knocks down on the dog, and all of a sudden the big bad beast is just a whimpering puppy that needs help. And they help it.
And another connection I love about this movie is my favorite pizza place here in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia is Yeah Yeah's Pizza, based off the character from this movie, Yeah.
Really?
And one time when I was a young lad, probably 18, I hitchhiked into Toronto, or maybe 20, maybe 18, depends on which hitchhiking trip it was. But I hitchhiked into Toronto, and I was on Yonge Street, I believe, and I saw this Yeah Yeah's Pizza. And I was just like, oh, must be from the Sandlot. Yeah. I went in there, and it was delicious pizza. And then, I continued on with my travels and eventually made my way home just to find that they were making a Yes Pizza, opening their second location here in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. So I found that very interesting. Now they still have one in Dartmouth, Halifax, and still on Yonge Street. Those are the 3 locations of Yes Pizza. But go check it out. Yes Pizza. It's proper, thin crust, not loaded with toppings. It's just the perfect pizza.
This segment of Hold Up, not sponsored by Yes Pizza, but endorsing Yes Pizza all the same.
They get a free one from me. I love Yes Pizza.
Hopefully you get a free
Their
one.
margarita pizza is to die for.
So yeah, basically the kids, you know, they help the dog, and then they gotta go knock on old James or old Jones's door. What was his name again? Mr. Myrtle. This is your scene that holds up, yeah.
But this just reminded me of so much.
This is so bad.
You got Squints telling the story earlier about how like this dog's dangerous and Myrtle's crazy.
Yeah, they're all crazy. They like murder people, and like the dog eats the bodies, and like it's all crazy.
Well, what happened was, we hit a baseball into your yard. We tried to get it back.
So you're the ones been making all that racket.
Yes, sir.
You get it?
Yeah.
First time that anybody ever got the best of old Hercules. Why didn't you just knock on the door? I'd have gotten it for you.
Okay.
We got the ball back, didn't we? Well, we almost got killed. Didn't we get the ball back?
So they had that idea earlier to just go knock on the door, and Squinch was just like, "No, you can't." And then he tells them all the crazy friggin' stories. So that's why that's my favorite scene. It still makes me laugh every time.
Come on in.
And he's just like this super nice blind old man who's just like
who's got a past.
We'll talk about this baseball. Come on.
And what a pass it is that's revealed.
But this is like a really heartwarming movie in the end. Like it's just like this old man finds some kids to like spend some time with and talk baseball with. This is nice. And, you know, they get more connections and more knowledge about baseball from him. It's pretty nice.
Well, he used to play with like Babe Ruth and stuff back in the day.
He was on
like a major league
Murderer's
player.
Row or whatever.
Yeah. And they're like, "Well, we lost this Babe Ruth ball." It's like, "Well, here."
He's just like, "Oh, you're not in trouble. You're dead where you stand," he says. He's like, "Let me see if I can do something about that." And then he gives them a ball. He's like, "Here, take this ball." They're like, "No, you don't understand. That one really was signed by Babe Ruth." He's like, "So is that one and the rest of the team." So they're like, ooh.
I personally, if I were to have like a kid, if I had a Babe Ruth ball, my kid lost it, but came back with a ball that had Babe Ruth and the entire team's name, would be like, "You're not grounded. You get, you can get whatever you want."
He pretty much was
year.
though. They're like, he was pretty cool with it. Like he was pretty impressed with the new ball. And you see the kid walk away, and he's looking at the new ball again. He's just like, oh, like the dad.
Well, yeah. Well, actually, that leads to Adam's favorite scene.
So I didn't feel too bad when he grounded me for a week instead of the rest of my life.
Wow.
Things worked out between me and him.
I kind of forgot Dennis Leary was in
this
this film.
Trouble, just calling him Dad all the time. We all lived together in the neighborhood for a couple of more years, mostly through junior high school, and every summer was great. But none of them ever came close to that first one. When one guy would move away, we never replaced him on the team with anyone else. We just kept the game going, like he was still there.
Wow, it's starting to hurt my hand.
That line there is like the best dad line you can say, as a, to your kid. You're hurting my hand, even though you're not. Like, just give them that, that little bit of encouragement, enthusiasm. So I like that scene a lot. Compared to the dads in the last movie, he's a pretty good dad.
Yeah, Dennis Leary was a good dad in this film.
Yep. No, it's just a heartwarming movie. It's a lot of fun.
And can I share one more thing with you guys? Because I had my nieces and my nephew, 9, 11, and 12 or 13 or something. And when I told them I had to watch this movie, they all the smiles. They have really great memories of this movie, which was cool to see too. Yeah.
So you get to have a little family moment and watch it together. That's great.
Yeah, we did. It was, but again, it's I mean, you guys, Tavin, you're dealing with it now, but when you see things through your kid's eyes for the first time, like it's all seeing it again. So it's kind of fun.
Do you hear my baby crying right now?
Yeah, a little older when they're, but yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's true. Actually, I've been watching some like the Disney movies with my 3-year-old and stuff, and it's fun the ones that she latches onto.
Yeah.
Ants.
She loves ants. I hadn't seen it, but yeah, she loves ants.
Ants with like Gene Hackman.
No, it's not Gene Hackman, is it?
It's like the old Pixar Ants film from. Like,
Yeah, it's Gene Hackman. He's the general.
Oh, is he the is he the cockroach general?
The grasshopper?
Or is the grasshopper? Yeah.
I don't know what I mean. He was in it. Sharon Stone was in it. Willie Allen was in it.
No, you're thinking of a way different movie. Ants.
That
is
was
starring Dave Foley and Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Oh, we're talking.
You might be thinking of A Bug's Life.
No,
Yeah,
I'm not thinking of Bug's Life. I'm thinking of
No,
Ants.
I'm thinking of A Bug's Life.
You're thinking of A Bug's Life, yeah.
I'm thinking of A Bug's Life. My bad. My bad.
I ain't no lady.
I've never seen Ants.
I ain't no lady. Yeah, so Ants has Stallone, Sharon Stone.
Okay. No, I never
Gene
saw that
Hackman.
one.
It's Woody Allen.
Woody Allen's a problematic figure.
Yeah, he was funny back then.
All right. Let's move on to our. Or do you have a favorite scene, Murphy?
No, we saw. We saw that already. It was cool. It was Ham, hamming it up.
Oh yeah, Ham. You're right. Oh, Ham's so good in this. All right, so which performance would you hold up? I'm just gonna pick Ham. Ham is awesome in this, and he was in everything when we were kids.
Was Ham the catcher?
Yeah, Ham was the catcher. I'm gonna give it to Mike
Squints?
Vitter and Benny. No, Squints is alright, but it was
Squints
alright. I liked Benny just because he was like that pure heart of the character. Like, you could have told me this was like Scott Summers' childhood, and I would believe it. If Benny was Scott Summers, like he just kind of had that sort of like leadership heart to it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, that's who I'm giving the hold up to.
I feel like that's who they wanted to portray River Phoenix's character as in Stand By Me, but he doesn't quite come off as that as well.
Yeah.
Because he's more troubled and stuff, too. It's a different character.
Who was your hold up performance, Adam?
Yeah, sorry guys, I don't have one. I'm not that attached.
Just say James Earl Jones then.
Yeah, James Earl Jones was my hold up.
Perfect.
All right. He is good in this, though, James Earl Jones. He's pretty funny in his little bit he's in.
That was his second baseball movie. He's Field Dreams as well.
He was also in the Sandlot 2, the sequel.
Was he? Oh.
Yeah, I watched the trailer for that. It looks awful. I almost thought about pranking you guys and showing you that trailer because for the first half of that trailer, it shows nothing but the first movie and scenes from the first movie until it goes, but this spring, and then they got like, Temu/Wish versions of the kid. They've, introduced a girl into the crowd, and then there's like a scene with James Earl Jones. He's like, the kids haven't been playing baseball here for like 10 years. Yeah. The Sandlot 1993. Aside from his narration of the story, Scotty Smalls never addresses any member of the Sandlot gang by name except for Benny for the whole duration of the movie. He does address Squints by his name only once when Wendy is given a mouth-to-mouth at the pool. And I believe the line was, "And that day, Michael Squints Palladorus walked a little bit taller."
And then he marries her. That's what he marries Wendy Peppercorn at the end of the movie.
And had 9 kids or something.
Yeah, they have like 9 kids and run a drugstore.
Pharmaceutical, baby. For most of the filming, the days were very hot. However, during the filming of the pool scene, it was overcast and the water was 56 degrees. All the kids were extremely cold and can be seen shivering before Squints pretends to drown, you can see his teeth chattering, which stood out to me. I remember that scene.
He looks legit
Like,
cool.
yeah. Imagine like filming on a hot summer and you're like, man, I can't wait for that pool day, and then pool day comes and it's just like freezing. Director David Mickey Evans had one clear instruction for Chauncey Leopardi, Squints, during the pool scene when he kisses Wendy Peppercorn. Keep your tongue in your mouth. That was the one specific order. When Smalls narrates what happened to his friends, he said, yeah, I was sent to the army. Both Arliss Howard and Tom Geary both played in war movies. Howard was in Full Metal Jacket in 1987, and Geary was in Black Hawk Down in 2001. Brandon Quinton Adams is noticeable for appearing in 3 kids' sports films in the 90s. He played Jesse Hall in the hockey movies The Mighty Ducks, 92, and the first sequel, D2, The Mighty Ducks, and in this movie in 93. He was originally to appear in D3, The Mighty Ducks, but his role was greatly diminished in the script compared to his role in the first 2 films, so he did not appear. James Earl Jones plays a blind man in this movie and in an episode of Frasier. Roz, Krantz, and Goldstein are dead. James Earl Jones appears as the blind man in a nursing home, which, if anybody remembers, he has a face of a wife that Frasier breaks. Just a mold of his dead wife, and Frasier breaks it.
Never watched Frasier.
It's pretty funny. I've been enjoying it. The first family sports film at a feature the first family sports film to feature Mike Fitter, Benny, who would later appear as Vitar, would later appear as Luis Mendoza in D2, The Mighty Ducks, and D3, The Mighty Ducks. Out of the 3 movies, he speaks the most dialogue in this one, as his character, and the other 2 are minor.
Now he's a fighter.
And now he's a fighter. Yeah.
And got in trouble for like beating up some dude.
And this was the last bit I found. I kind of was like, when I was watching it. The movie playing in the cinema during the Hercules versus Benny chase scene is The Wolfman from 1941, which we had covered on this show previously. And the song that plays at the start of the chase scene is Wipe Out by the Safaris.
We also covered James Earl Jones' first movie on this podcast previously.
It's true. Film narrated by David Mickey Evans, cinematography by Anthony B. Richardman, edited by Michael A. Stevenson, music by David Newman. Release date April 1st, 1993. 101 minutes runtime. A budget of $7 million. A box office of $34.3 million.
Decent. Not as big a hit as Stand By Me, but decent.
But this film did.
Like this film was probably competing with Jurassic Park or some shit. Like
apparently, so there was another one that I didn't write down, but I do remember this one is that this film has beaten out Rookie of the Year as the best baseball film.
Boom, I agree. Yeah. This is my favorite baseball movie.
Whoa.
I was just like, you guys are crazy.
It is.
Bull Durham is mine.
Yeah, right. Well, rewatchability. I've seen this movie countless times, and I'm probably going to watch it a few more. I definitely think this movie is rewatchable just because it's fun. It takes you back to the before times, but it doesn't depress you while you're there. And it has a lot of those relatable scenes, like, you know, like the myths around different characters in your town and that sort of stuff. And yeah, I enjoy this movie. And it is funny how it ends, too, where Benny becomes a professional baseball player and Smalls becomes the announcer for that team. It's kind of nice. But yeah, I like this movie. Rewatchable for sure. I look forward to watching it with my kids, though I don't think they'll necessarily get a lot out of it because they'll be so removed from the before times and baseball and everything, really. Though my 3-year-old's insanely good at baseball. So, who knows? Murphy.
My rewatchability for this film, I think I watched it a bunch as a kid. Rewatching it now, I felt a little, I don't know. Yeah, I enjoyed most of it. Will I rewatch this film again, though? Again?
Best baseball movie ever.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just other like baseball content I would rather rewatch. Like I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but there's a show called Brockmire with Hank Azaria. He plays like a commentator for baseball. One of the best shows. It's hilarious from like beginning to end. There's only like 3 seasons of it or something like that. Anyway, one of my favorite content that involves baseball. And this is up there. I don't know. I don't think I'll rewatch it again anytime soon. It has rewatchability. Yeah, it has rewatchability.
Doesn't mean soon. I haven't seen it in 20 years, but I was happy to watch it again.
Yeah. Adam?
I'd rewatch it with kids, so not by myself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. It's like if I have a reason to watch it with some kids or something, if it's on the TV, I might watch it again, but I won't go out of my way.
Like the further people get removed from characters like Babe Ruth and stuff, I suspect the less resonance it'll have. But it's the same with all these period pieces, right? Kids are just going to have to learn to love history. And does it hold up? It does for me. I enjoyed it. I laughed a lot. I just find it funny. It's kind of a funny movie. There's heart as well, but it's mostly just funny.
I enjoyed it enough. Listen. I didn't. I'm glad I watched it. I'll say that, but it held up. I mean, it was relevant to me, for sure.
Yeah, no, it definitely holds up. It holds up as a great friendship film and a great film that just sort of gets you in the spirit of summer. Like if you want to watch a film that really wants to give you the summer vibes, this definitely did it for me. And again, much like Stand By Me, this film and the previous one, just makes me want to get out and enjoy my summer and not be cooped up in the house and shit like that. Look at it.
They even have the hottest day of the summer scene. Like this is the hottest day of the summer. And he's like, let's play baseball. They're like, we're not playing baseball on the hottest day of the summer. And that's when they go to the pool and get in all the trouble. But
yeah. So yeah, this film holds up.
All right. She holds up. Well, let's move over to Theater 3. We've gotten some good movies here so far tonight. Theater 3, we have Boy from 2010, starring James Rolston, Te Aho Ekatone Witu, Taika Waititi, and directed by Taika Waititi. This is basically about him. He plays his own father, essentially, in this movie, because his father was like a criminal, often in prison and whatnot. So, and sort of like this, the way I've heard him describe his character or his father in an interview is basically the character that he plays in this movie. And
I wonder how much of this film was like direct correlations with his actual life, like the mother dying and stuff like that.
Fair bit. It seems like one of those movies. Oh, about what? His mother dying? No, I don't think his mother's dead in real life. I don't think that. Okay. I think that's probably just for the movie.
Okay. Yeah. I picked this film because it was sort of, for me, it was going to be a toss-up between this one and I think the other one was called Boyhood, which is a film that took like 12 years to make because they filmed the first portion of it when the kid was basically a kid, and then 12 years later he becomes a grown-up adult, and they actually filmed the rest of the film at that point in time, and then they like make this whole film. That was one I was going to pick, but I ultimately when I watched the trailer for this, I was like, you know what, I think this will just be a little more lighthearted and fun, and I think I was a little more interested in seeing it. Now that being said, have either of you guys seen the trailer for this one?
I have not.
Then let us watch basically the entire movie.
Kia ora, my name is Boy.
Kia ora.
And welcome to my interesting world. My favourite person is Michael Jackson. Wanna see some Michael Jackson dance moves?
This part was hilarious.
My favourite subjects are art,
We'll see some
social
Michael Jackson
studies,
dance moves.
Kick both your nuts off, and you'll have none.
and Michael Jackson. I have a 6-year-old brother called Rocky. He's got powers.
Hey, boy.
Sure, boy.
Hey, boy. Thank you, boy.
I'm named after my dad. He's overseas doing some pretty important stuff.
Oh, man, you're a liar. Your dad's in jail for robbery.
People
call me a dumb honky all the time. I don't go around punching them out.
Why not?
Because they're usually children.
Who are you?
Boy.
Everybody needs a hero.
Right. I'm your dad.
Oh.
Think you can handle having the Incredible Hulk for a dad?
How long is he here for? Don't know.
Oh, the haircut
She's
scene.
my dad.
What he's looking for?
Treasure.
Generally,
Can you stop calling me dad? Sounds weird.
Zany, sentimental, and remarkably insightful.
I want to get to know him. Why? Because I'm like him. I'm like him more than you.
You don't know anything.
This kid actor's hilarious.
Sorry I am like I am sometimes. Got people trying to bring me down, you know? The government mainly.
No apple Jervis?
You got a girlfriend.
There's this girl that really likes me a lot, but I don't know if I want to, get involved.
Well, don't get her pregnant, that's all.
He paints himself like one kid paints himself blue. He's like, I'm Maori Smurf.
Yeah, so the whole tale here is basically about a kid named Boy. He's named after his father, Alamein, but everyone calls him Boy. And he's growing up on an island of New Zealand, I believe in... Where is it again? I thought I had that written down. Shit, I don't. Okay, that's fine. Anyway, he basically grows up on the island of New Zealand, and he's a kid that has a broken relationship with his father. He's living with his grandmother in a sort of... Is it his aunt? No, it's his grandmother. It's his nana. No, he lives with his grandmother. He's around his aunt often. His aunt is everywhere because she works everywhere. She has like 15 jobs. But he lives with his grandmother. His grandmother actually has to go on a road trip because somebody died. There's a scene where the kids push the car away and the car drives away, and you don't see grandma all weekend basically. So you see this sort of story where Boy is like taking care of the younger siblings in his household. He's feeding them, cooking them food, taking care of them.
Takes care of the whole family, like 5 kids, man.
Yeah, and he's, maybe 10 or something. Like he's pretty versatile kid. But he's also living in the fantasy world. He imagines his father to be a greater hero than what he actually is. He thinks he's, a samurai, a war hero, a scholar.
But his father talks about himself like that too, though. His father thinks he's like that. He's just like, call me Shogun.
Yeah, call me Shogun, because he reads the book called Shogun, which apparently there's a show out right now which is based off that book.
Yeah,
so
I want freaking dying to watch that show.
Yeah, I've been wanting to watch that too. Maybe we should make something happen there. But yeah, so you've got all these moments where Boy starts to he keeps fantasizing about his father, and then all of a sudden his father shows up, and
not to see him
naturally. No. He's there. He is alternate intentions. He's got
buried money.
He buried money like somewhere in the rush of night. It was like about like $900 or something, give or take $1,000. Not a lot.
Funny
of
him
money,
trying to figure it out though. He's like, look, so it must have been like 9 feet from the fence, and he's just like trying to figure out. He's like, it was dark.
They start digging all these holes and whatnot.
Just hundreds and hundreds of holes. They're digging up this entire field.
Yeah, and while that's all happening, Boy's got a group of friends, and one of his friends is this girl who, admittedly, I don't remember the name of, because I don't think they ever said her name. But it was not the girl that he's chasing after. It's the one that's like his friend that he ignores for the most part. Anyway, yeah, she basically has a family her father, it's alluded to that her father's a part of like an actual motorcycle gang, and she basically is selling drugs for her father and selling
Weed.
like
She
weed
grows
and
his
stuff like that.
weed.
Yeah, she's
Grows
you
the
know
weed in the
she's
cornfield,
and
yeah.
delivers it and everything. She's like, she gets off school and has to go deliver her father's weed and shit.
yeah. I guess her name might have been Kelly. Anyway, so yeah, so there's this sort of like storyline. So Boy starts taking the weed to Alamein. He's like, oh yeah, you make sure you get this to me and all this stuff. And then there's this other story.
Yeah, if you find any more of this, bring it to me right away.
Bring it straight to me, right? And then there's his younger brother Rocky, and Rocky is pretty much a silent kid. He doesn't say much, but he's always drawing, and he thinks he has superpowers because Boy has gotten into his head that he basically has these powers that killed their mother, because there's these flashback scenes where Boy starts remembering like his father being next to him and his mother, and they're all happy and stuff. And then there's this scene where like Taika Waititi's like crying at the feet of his dead mother because they just gave birth to Rocky. And there's that whole scene. But I guess basically Boy like alludes to Rocky that you're so powerful, it ended up killing Mom. And so Rocky has this belief in his head that he has superpowers, and you see these like fun little scenes where he's reaching out and like blowing up a bus, and they show it like cartoon animated and stuff.
Or like he knocks that like homeless guy over. He'll just be like,
yeah, well, there's the weirdo guy, and this is my favorite scene that holds up in the film. Is this one right here.
My mom's dead.
Mom's
I killed her.
Killed it. Just the way he looks
These
at
are
her,
the
like,
best kid
Do you have
actors
any
that we've
friends?
talked about tonight too. The kids actors in this are great.
Do you have a brother?
No.
I've got a brother. He's cool. He's
Because they
hanging
sound
out
like
with our
kids.
dad.
Like
What's
it's
he
not
like?
adult dialogue
Loud.
put in the mouths of kids.
yeah. What's your dad like? Loud?
Yeah. Oh.
Sorry, I think I did that.
Just this such genuine
I made
belief.
you fall over. Sorry.
Yeah.
I have to watch out for my powers. They're too dangerous. My brother says that's how my mum died. Because my powers were too strong when I was getting born.
You gotta use them to do good, eh? Just like in the comic books.
Yeah.
What are we looking for?
Anything.
Anything.
Mhm.
Just a sweet little scene,
I love that.
full
scene.
of heart and innocence, but like it's so full of heart and innocence, but he just casually talks about how he kills his mother, and it's like, I have too
Love
much
mom's kids.
powers. Yeah, and then it leads to a scene where he's like, you gotta use that power for good, and it's just such a touching message in
I'm
such
sorry,
an
I think
innocent
I
scene.
did that.
Sorry, I
He's
think
never
that was
sure. He's like
squeaky
always like,
face.
I think.
I think I did that.
Yeah,
He's
he's
surprised by his actions. It's great.
But he's always doing it. He's just always like,
Yeah, it's like it's not the first time it happens. He does it again, and like there's a scene where like the Taika Waititi and the dad and they're all at the beach, right? Is the dad and the sons, they're at the beach, and he's running around playing like stick war and stuff like that, and Boy and Taika go running into the fields, and Rocky sits there and he's like takes a stick and takes a shot at his dad. His dad follows her, and he's like, it's just like has that like, oh my God, man's powerful,
Well, you do it enough times, something's gonna happen.
Yeah,
It's
exactly,
so
right.
funny. It's my favorite running gag in the movie, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, things start to sort of compile, where Boy starts taking after the bad habits of his father. His father just slips him a drink, have a little sippy poo, which like I have a clear memory of that with my own like estranged father, him giving me a beer and a little sip, like shit like that. And there's also, he puts him, he's like, can I be a part of the Wild Horses gang, which is this like little patch jacket that his dad and his two buddies are trying to like
His two buddies. That's the whole gang.
fly off.
Him and his two
Yep.
buddies.
Fly off as they're whatever, and they start throwing a party and all these things happen. one thing leads to another. Eventually,
you know, mostly from the government.
Yeah.
Like,
so boy boy gets to a point where, like, you know, he's getting desperate to sort of like gain his father's admiration, and he proceeds to you know, he's digging holes for him and stuff like that, looking for the treasure, and he actually comes across the money. He comes across the bag of money, and he's like, oh geez, and he's like sitting in the car and he's counting and he's thinking these big stacks and he's gonna be rich, and he's
not
talking
even
to his goat.
that much money. It's like
no, it's all
$500 or something.
Yeah, it's like 1,000 New Zealand, not that much money. And
when they have
it's
nothing.
but again,
Yeah,
this
when you
is
have
what, like
nothing,
85. When you got not much, $1,000 in 85, that's probably, you know, close, right? So you know, he's gloating to the goat, you know, how he's got all this money, and then he takes, you know, $20, goes down to his aunt, and he's like, how much for everything? And she's like, no. He's like, yes, I want ices and the gumballs, and he just starts laying it all on the table. And again, a moment of, look at how many things he's getting for such little money. I want to shop like it's 1999 again. Jeez. So yeah,
Bring
but
me the head of
moment
Galen Weston and we'll talk.
we'll figure that out someday. But yeah, either way, the moment he takes the money and he tries to hide it under the seat, I'm like, oh no, that goat's gonna eat that fucking money. And sure enough, after the beat of like getting of like the ices, and he's got his father's leather jacket, and he's thinking he's all cool, you know, his dad shows up in the car after kind of going MIA for seemingly a day or so. That's when he finds the money, you know, takes a jacket off him, kind of gives him a slap upside the head and all that stuff, scolds him in front of his friends, and then drives off. Well, not before his auntie like yells at the fathers, like, what's wrong with you? You're yelling at
Like, get out of here,
9-year-old.
piece
Like,
of
get
shit.
out of here. You drunk shit, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, you get that whole scene, and then where was it? Basically, you know, he heads back and he sees that the goat has eaten all the money, and he's like, oh no, what do I do? And then he goes into panic mode, and then you see him stripping off the door knobs because they got copper, because he was told, you know, you can sell copper, make a bunch of money. Yeah, one of the guys earlier mentioned how he's got copper, so he sticks it in the microwave, which they were confused thinking it was a TV earlier because Dad brought a bunch of stuff. Yeah. And he tries to melt the copper, blows the microwave, and then, you know, it's sort of like all this sort of like proceedingly smaller chaos leading to you know, one thing after the other. I want to just double check. What was your favorite scene, Devin? What did you have down? Oh, yes. Okay. So before he really gets into it, there's these scenes with the teacher, and he's asking him about like potential. He's like, you got so much potential. He's like, what's that mean? And then he tries to find out from his dad, and he doesn't find out. Yeah, and this is the scene where he finds out what potential is, and he reads it up.
He even asks his dad, and his dad's like, I don't fucking know.
Not now manifest or showing signs of existence or activity. What the hell?
Yeah, that's all it needed to be, because I did that so many times as a kid. Like, right next in our living room there was just like a bunch of dictionaries and encyclopedias, and I would just sit there going through stuff, and I remember thinking that all the time. I'm like, just the word by itself. I'm like, why don't like, this isn't helping me at all. Yeah, I've been there. I've been there. It's potential.
So yeah,
like, but it's just so sad. No one ever tells him like what potential is, or that he has it, or anything. Like, he's like, what is this potential? I never heard of this before.
Yeah, he's often overlooked, and it's a bit sad in that aspect. But yeah, eventually, you know, he's reaching his wit's end, and there's also this scene where like he's like, oh, I gotta get my dad whatever, so he tells his dad about the weed in the cornfields, and then you get this sort of like scene where Boy and Rocky are just watching him just go ham with a machete, just like gathering all this weed, and gathers it up and runs, and as they're running out,
his friend sees him too.
Yeah, Boy sees his friend. I think her name's Kelly. I'm gonna call her Kelly for the sake of the conversation. But anyway, they make eye contact, and she's just like, "You betrayed me," sort of silent look. And then within, you know, the next scene, these guys are all geared up. They're ready to party. They're gonna sell all this weed. And they're at the parking lot. And Boy's sitting in the car. They're drinking beers at the table. He sees his friend. She's got a black eye because clearly she was abused by the father. And then the biker gangs come in, and he has this like mental imagery of like a West Side street fight where they tie hands and they're dancing and stuff, and it's like not the case, and it ends up getting beat up, and dad takes it out on the other guys, and it's all just becomes piling, and he starts spiraling out, starts drinking like a heavy quart, digging like almost a grave at this point, to the point where Boy comes the realization, and he starts remembering that his father is actually not around. He's not the hero that he's put himself up to be, and he goes to face him. And this is where Adam told us this is his favorite hold-up scene.
You today. I
It's
needed
when he
you.
faces the father and shows him the ripped up money, the chewed up money.
That's your treasure.
I was a big fan of this scene too.
Dad had it.
What the fuck?
Because I don't expect that.
No, you didn't expect that. That's what.
Little shit. Ah!
Oh, another one.
Just two solid.
Yep. Good one.
From the hip.
It's probably
Like,
the
you know,
best
Tyke-
scene in the movie, yeah.
It really is.
You weren't there! You weren't there when he was born! You weren't there when she died!
Calm down, man. I mean it.
Where were you?
It's off. Stop
Where
it.
were you?
Stop it. It's enough, man. Okay? Okay.
I thought I was like you, but I'm not. I don't have any potential.
So yeah. Why'd you pick that scene, Adam?
First of all, it surprised me. I didn't see it going that way. I think for me, this movie, you get the dad shows up, likes the idea of being a dad, but he doesn't want to be a dad. And and this kid has all his hopes. It seems like he had so much hopes on this reunion happening, and it was a very sad movie to me. This movie, out of the
It
three,
is a sad movie.
yeah. So I just found that realization in such a young kid to actually slap his dad and say, you know what, you're not the guy I expected, and very again, one of those moments that that clarity that this kid's got, that this is not the guy. And then he's right. Like, what happened when his mother died? He's not around. Who's raising him? The grandmother. So.
Yep.
And this kid's forced to be an adult way before his years, and it's another thing. That's his childhood's been robbed from him.
Yeah, it's a powerful scene, a powerfully emotional scene. It's so well done.
Yeah.
Played by all parts. So yeah, boy collects the pieces of his shattered sort of ego in a sense, and he starts to fix the doorknobs and put them back using a spoon, and
he becomes a dad again. He becomes the big brother of the family, whatever it might be.
Yep. He starts, they start fixing up the house, and in time for grandma to show back up, and she gives the kids all a hug and that that warm smile, and then it just the scenes sort of like get to a point where Boy and Rocky are walking, and they're ready to live their lives, and they go to the grave, and they see that their father's actually, for the first time in the whole movie, visiting the grave of his ex-wife.
And that scene, like, in your mind, my mind anyway, I was like, okay, so where does this go from here? I don't see this guy as being part of the family. He's I think he had a moment of clarity when the kid's beating him up, but after that, he's back to what he does. He doesn't know too much.
He's back to jail.
Yeah.
So he's sitting there, and then they had that quick moment of like, so what are we gonna do now?
Yeah.
And then that's kind of how the movie ends. It's like it's not quite a happy ending, but it's not it doesn't seem like it's going to be the worst ending. Like
It's an
they might
uncertain
reconcile.
ending.
It's an uncertain ending, yeah. And
well,
but such a heartfelt movie.
It really was.
It really is. Yeah.
So, which performance would you hold up? It's got to be Alamein for me, Alamein Jr. What a great child actor he is. I mean, Rocky's really good too. I really like both of them, but I'll give it to Boy Alamein.
Yeah. What's his James Rolston? He acted his little butt off in this film. I'm hoping he's still an active actor now. I would assume so. Hopefully. Yeah, he's in a few things. He's in a few things. He's doing some stuff.
For me, it was also him, but he acted that role so well. Not only in his verbal acting, but his just the looks he was giving the whole time too. Yeah.
Honestly, like I want to say the whole cast of the film, like there wasn't a single character in this movie that didn't feel genuine in their performance.
But it's just he likely didn't hire actors. He was just hiring people to play basically themselves. And like that works a lot. That's something you do more in modern movies. Like before everything was movie stars and you just hire movie stars and nothing felt
Don't need
very
Chris
authentic.
Pratt in 30 films, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how about a few more, little more.
Boy.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Boy from 2010. Director Taika Waititi was less than a week away from filming when he realized the boy he had as lead wasn't working out.
Oh my. So this James Rolston was just a last minute.
Yeah.
Like
surprise, motherfucker.
That is
3 days.
surprising.
3 days before filming began, James Rolston, who was hanging around on set as an extra, was given the lead by Taika Waititi. 3 days before they were like, we're making this film. Due to the film's success in New Zealand, the song Poi, P-O-I-E, it's just like Poi and then E, originally released in 1984, re-entered the New Zealand charts and reached number 3 on May 24th, 2010. It is the only New Zealand song to chart over 3 decades. I didn't catch the artist's name. I didn't have time to find that out, but I want to listen to that song. Filmed in the town Taika Waititi grew up in, the house he grew up in, and the school he went to. During the imagined prison escape of Boy's father, Alamein is seen throwing a spoon into a prisoner officer's eye. The prison officer is played by Stu Rutherford, who takes a bigger role in writer-director Taika Waititi's next film, What We Do in the Shadows, playing the friend of vampire Nick, who the other vampires take a shine to and soon consider a close friend. In New Zealand, calling someone an egg is a childish way of calling them a fool or a dummy. Boy and his father share the same first name, Alamein. His father plays war games with his sons on the beach. This is an allusion to the First and Second Battle of El Alamein in World War II. The New Zealand Maori battalion participated at El Alamein, Egypt, where they helped repel Rommel's army, which ultimately led to securing the Suez Canal for the Allies. Cinematography, Adam Clark. Edited by Chris Plummer. Music by the Phoenix Foundation. Release date, 25th of March, 2010. Runtime, 88 minutes. Budget, the best I could find for budget, roughly $200,000. Box office, $8.6 million.
That's your chain.
All right, well, rewatchability.
If I can go for it, I would watch that again. And the reason being is that I think I missed some stuff that I need to see again. Like that, it was a good film, but you got to be in the mood, man. I was not in the mood. Like I was in a better mood when I started than when I ended. You know, it was a tough one to watch, and you need movies like that. You need movies like that. But it was good, very good movie.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely has strong rewatchability. Even when I was kind of going back through it for clips, like that scene with Rocky particularly, like kind of slipped by me, and I was like, oh, that was kind of neat. But when I rewatched it again, I was like, yeah, actually, I think this is my favorite scene in the film. And it was just the little things that like I want to kind of watch it so I can pay more attention to Rocky's character actually, because he was just a lot of fun.
And what
Come
about
on,
the
Egg.
great?
He's always just getting shut down. Come on, Egg.
What about the great ending of the thriller?
Oh yeah, where they're all doing the Thriller, but they're like doing like the Maori like haka dance with it.
haka,
That was
yeah.
super cool. That was super cool. I was a big fan of that. I was like, this is a great way to end this film.
It was great.
You want to see me dance like Michael Jackson? Like, he's just trying to show off to the girlie, like
Tries to like do the saddest moonwalk ever.
Oh, the worst moonwalk ever. Yeah.
But like, it wasn't even the moonwalk. It was like the shoulder shimmy of like the stiffest shoulder shimmy.
I want to see me dance like Michael Jackson.
Want to see me dance like Michael Jackson? Good times.
Yeah, I love that kid. He's great. Yeah, I'd watch it again too. There's a lot here just to see Rocky. Rocky's awesome.
And a lot in 88 minutes, by the way.
Yeah.
Stand by Me short too. So was like these weren't long movies, and they're all getting pretty high marks from us. So maybe there's something to do that. Maybe you don't need to make 2.5-hour movies all the time. But does it hold up? Does indeed for me.
Certainly.
I think we've got 3A movies tonight.
Yeah, I think this is the first time we've actually done this.
Maybe ever. Yeah.
There's always some differential. There's never a AAA movie lineup like this.
This holds up. Will you take it for you, Adam?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I definitely. Hold
all right.
Like again, I hadn't seen it. It took me a bit to find. It's not on all the streaming services.
It is on a streaming service.
Which one?
That's where I found it. Crave.
It was on. Oh, okay, I missed it.
Surprising how much like indie films Crave has, but yeah.
Anyway, it was great. I appreciate you already heard my thing on Stand By Me. Sandlot was fine. This was great. This was a find for me. So I appreciate that.
Well, here's the hard part. We're going to rank these 3 movies. I'm going to go first. And first, I'm going to take off my nostalgia glasses. I'm going to go Boy, Sandlot, Stand By Me.
I'm going to echo that. Boy, Sandlot, and Stand By Me. Yeah.
I will go with Boy, Stand By Me, Sandlot, simply because I was surprised by Boy and I enjoyed it a lot.
I'm honestly surprised you're picking Boy over Stand By Me.
No,
considering
Stand
how
By
much
Me is
nostalgia
just, it's always there. If we're gonna take our glasses off, then I'm gonna pick those 3. But because again, it was a surprise. It moved me. It was a different movie than you usually get out of a coming of age movie.
Mm-hmm.
Boy had more heart than I think any of these movies, and at least as much comedy, if not more, than the Sandlot.
But I also think it's also a time like 2010. You said 2010 versus 93 or 84 or 5, whatever it was. So a little different timing, right? Like I want to go back and read the Body now, just because I want to see the difference. I've read it. I know I have. I just can't remember it also.
Even though the Boy was more contemporary, it was also still set in 84, so it's like all 3 of these films are almost around the same time period.
Before times. I was born in 84. This is good movies. Good movies, fellas. Happy birthday, Adam.
Thank you so
Happy
much.
birthday,
and I've
Adam.
enjoyed my birthday evening with you guys, so I appreciate it, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks so much.
No, absolutely. You've bow out if you need to, sir. We've kept you long enough. We can wrap this silly party up. We appreciate you taking the time to spend it with us.
And we'll talk to you guys soon, okay? Bye-bye.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, Adam.
My final take is I miss the before times. That's my final take. Before the internet ruined everything. I mean, here we are talking on the internet and making the best of it by making fine podcasts, but man, I would trade in a few internets for some whimsy left in the world.
Yeah, there's a few things I wish I didn't take for granted as much back then. and I look at them fondly, and these films were a fine reminder, if you will, of all that we've kind of embarked upon growing up.
Yeah, the other final take is, Boyhood. Grow up to become fine men. That's what you got to do.
I want to emphasize the original category for this was to be childhood. But our previous guest, Alice and Nora, in our previous episode, if you watched that, had pointed out to me that it sounds more like a Boyhood episode. And I was like, you're right. And I'm going to rectify that. We're going to have a girlhood episode at some point in the near future, next season.
I already got my pick. It's been made for me.
All right, there you go. So that'll come down the pipeline, and I think we should have Allison on for that show. I think that would be appropriate. But we'll see. We'll figure that out in the due time. But yeah, it was a good sort of opening up that book of nostalgia and just taking a big whiff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess we should
call her a night, shall we?
Call it a night. Listen, we normally do a little roundup, a little rundown, a little all that good stuff before I say, ultimately enjoy the movies, but got something a little fresh to show you. So we're gonna close it out with this little video package. I want to thank you for
debuting the new outro.
Debuting the new outro.
The new outro. The new
here
UFP
on Hold
outro.
Up. So yeah,
you'll see it everywhere.
You'll see it everywhere. You'll find all of our channels, which you'll see. But yeah, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to enjoy these movies with us. And let us know what your thoughts are about these classics. And hopefully you'll come back and enjoy the next set of movies with us.
Give us your Boyhood stories. The hijinks. Let's hear your hijinks from childhood. Yeah.
To give you guys a little hint on what's coming up next episode, it's gonna get buggy. It's gonna get a little insecticide. See where that goes. You know what I'm saying?
I love bugs, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm interested. My pick was it should fit. Anyway, we'll figure it out. Until then, we're wrapping this up. Let's close this theater. Enjoy the movies as always. Peace out.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Amon on track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about reality TV on Super Mater Bros. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.